We are going to achieve constructor injection in Spring Framework. So that means what we have to take in care to achieve constructor injection in the sense, once we are defining a Java class, we have to define constructor, whatever the values we are trying to inject. Okay. So as per our demand, as per our requirement point of view, whatever the values you have to inject as part of your Java properties. Okay. For those properties, what we have to do? We have to create a constructor with parameters. What are the values we would like to inject? We have to create a constructor. And then, so once a constructor is created, so in our Java class point of view, do we need to take care of any other extra things? With respect to only constructor injection point of view, once you written a constructor with parameters, anything else required mandatorily in our Java class? No, only constructor is enough because the constructor injection itself, the values are injecting via constructors. So whenever an object is created by the container, during the object creation, the constructor is executed. In the sense, the values are injected via constructor. So with respect to Java class, we have to maintain constructor. And then next, in the bean configuration, we will try to create a bean object, right? So when we are trying to create a bean object with constructor injection, what is the tag we have to take here? XML point of view, constructor argument tag we have to take here. Okay. So now, yes, we are taking constructor argument. And what is the syntax of constructor argument tag here? Is it taking any name of the parameter? Is it directly taking value? Yeah, it's taking directly value of what? The constructor arguments, whatever you defined in the Java class point of view. Okay, whatever we defined in the Java class. Okay, those respective arguments values you are passing as part of the constructor argument tag. Okay. So whatever the constructor you define in your Java class 2 parameters or 3 parameter, those respective values you are providing as part of the XML configuration by using constructor argument tag. So the value now, what is the one thing we have to take care here when you are defining the constructor argument tags in the XML? So what is the we have to take order with respect to what? The constructor arguments in the Java class. Based on that, you have to take care the XML constructor arguments in the bean definition point of view. So if you are not following, what will happen then? So maybe the data types wise, it is comparing data types wise. Okay, when you give an integer, string, double, when you give an XML tags also, integer value, string value, double value, then only those values will be injected into constructor and your object will be created by the container finally. But if you are mismatching the constructor argument, okay, the order, then what is happening? Maybe string is trying to insert into integer value, then you're getting some format exceptions, all this point of view. So that's why we have to follow an order of constructor arguments with respect to constructor argument tags in the beans definition level. So in case if you don't want to follow an order, Spring Framework provided one more option called as index option. So then you don't need to follow any order when you are defining the constructor argument tags in the XML file. So, but what we have to take care here, we need to take index value. The index is representing what? The constructor argument order. Okay, index starting from the 0. So that means 0 representing the constructor parameter of 1. Okay, similarly, index 1 representing constructor parameter 2. Like that, you are giving a special instruction to the beans configuration level. So based on the index now, container is injecting those values into respective constructor arguments. Okay, so this is how you have to configure the constructor injection, right? Okay, so and one more point, what we understood here it is, these are all values will be injected while object creation. I mean, constructor in the sense, definitely it is while object creation, right? Okay, so this is what we completed in yesterday, and let's focus few more points with respect to constructor injection, and we will try to take different data types also. Okay, so for example, let's take same example only, same class. Yeah. So I have a class called as employee class, and how many constructors it is having? Only one constructor it is having. With how many parameters? 3 parameters I have. So now if I want to make sure only ID and name should be injected, I don't want to inject salary value with respect to constructor injection point of view. So then can I utilize this constructor? No. So even with respect to Java point of view also, when we would like to process only ID and name values, we don't want to process any value for the salary. Generally, what is the syntax you will follow? Maybe if you want to utilize this constructor, generally what you will follow? New employee. Yeah, you will give some employee ID. Okay, and you will give a name and followed by, you don't want salary. So then in such case, can you leave like this? No. Then this constructor will fail. It will not compile the error you will get. No equal constructor parameter, something like that. So maybe you will pass something like dummy value. Okay, the default value 0.0, something like that, right? Generally, we will follow this approach. Now, in my approach is, even I don't want to give a default value also. Every time I have to initialize my object with only two values. And in the ID level, in the name level, whatever the values I provided here, those should be injected or those should be available in the ID and name level. So if you want to achieve this solution, then what you have to do? Two parameterized constructor you have to write down, right? Similarly, with respect to constructor injection in Spring Framework, when you have three parameterized constructor, and if you want to inject only two parameter values, okay, instead of all the parameters, instead of three parameters, you want to pass always two values as part of one object, then what you have to do is, you cannot define, okay, for example, can I create one more employee object for the bean class? Yes, I can create any number of things. So I created employee and I'm trying to create E2. And your intention is, I mean, our point here it is, okay, index you know now. So I'm just deleting index things. I'll make an order. Now you can keep index also. Okay. So let's come back here now. So first, yeah, I will move. So our intention here it is ID comma name, and I don't want to pass, okay, salary. This is what our requirement. This time I want to initialize only ID and name of the employee. I don't want to provide salary. So then what we did, with respect to employee class, we have only one constructor called as three parameterized constructor. But in the XML, I given how many constructors? How many values for the constructor arguments? Only two. So with respect to employee one, we don't have any problem. We provided all three values. Now, if you are feeling like I can give 100 and I can give delete for ID and name, and automatically the container will take care salary as default value 0.0. No, it will not your correct assumption. Okay. So that means constructor injection point of view, you have to pass always all the argument values mandatorily. So for example, let's try to create whether E2 is getting created or not. Okay. So if you are getting an exception, at what line you will get an exception now? In case the bean creation is failed for the E2, then at what line the exception is going to come now? At what line execution? Line number 10. Yes, because we given XML file as input to the container processing one by one bean from the XML point of view. So when it is reaching to the even is good, it will create even object successfully. But when it reaching to the E2, okay, so if you are feeling like two values will be injected and the third value will taken automatically as a default value. So what is going to happen? Let's understand. So execute this class. Okay, if you see here, what is this? First one, this sysout related to which bean configuration? Employee one bean configuration. So it is created successfully. The reason is we have three parameterized constructor and we passed how many values? Three values we passed. So with respect to second bean configuration, our class is having only one constructor with three parameters, but you passed how many values? Two values, ID and name. We are not provided this salary. So that means partial injection with respect to constructor, whatever you have, it's not possible in the Spring Framework point of view. So now what you have to do in this case, in case if you want to achieve this requirement always, only ID and name value should be injected, then what you have to do in the current okay, what you have to do? Creating another constructor. Yes, good. That's all. So now, yes, you can keep three parameter constructor as it is, and let's take one more constructor with what you are going to do? Two parameterized constructor, and you can take only salary. I mean, sorry, ID and name. Okay, we don't want salary value here. So it is how many parameters? Two parameterized constructor, and you are initializing ID and name, whatever you are going to configure as part of the constructor argument level. Now tell me, our logic is going to execute or not. If I'm executed this, is it going to execute? Yes. So internally, what it will try to do is, first it will go to even. So it will count how many constructor arguments you given. So how many? 3 we given, and it will go and verify in the employee, is there any constructor with 3 parameters or not? And then immediately it will follow all the data types you given in the order or not, or maybe index values you given or not. If everything is good, then this constructor will be executed, and in the ID level, you will, whatever the values you configured, those values will be available in the ID, name, and salary. Now, similarly, it will move to the second bean. When it comes to E2 bean object, it will observe how many constructor arguments you given. How many? 2. So immediately it will internally validate. So is it having 2 parameterized constructor or not? Yes, we have. And with respect to constructor argument values also, we are following the same arguments or not? Like 100 comma, we given some other value. What we given? Yeah, I can change this as something like 101 and something like Naresh or whatever it is. So another employee detail point of. So now what it will do? ID and name point of view, even you followed proper data type order with respect to the values. Now is it going to execute? Yes. Now bean creation going to happen for the employee. Okay, so is it happened or not? And if you observe here, 3 parameterized constructor executed for the even point of view. E2 point of view, which parameter, which constructor is executed? 2 parameterized constructor is executed. And if you want to see the values also, let me write down quickly here. Here E2, bean ID is mandatory. Here you can take any name. Okay, so what is the output you are going to get now with respect to E2 point of view? Yes, those values will be injected. Okay, so what is this? 101 and Naresh, and as well as then it is taking care salary as default value. But it's not like when you have 3 parameter constructor and you configured only 2 constructor arguments in the XML, and then third value is going to take care of automatically default value. Is that correct? The statement? No, it's wrong statement. So that means when you are having 2 parameters constructor, okay, and you configure 2 constructor arguments, other than those 2 parameters, if your Java class contains any extra date, okay, instance variables, then those will be automatically assigned with default values. So you understood this point now? Is it clear now? So only ID name you pass. With respect to E2, what is the salary now? With respect to employee 2, what is the salary value? Yes, it will be 0.0. Tomorrow, if you given any other variables also here, something like string email, then what is the email value with respect to E1 and E2? Null. Yes. So only 3 values will be initialized, and the extra properties will be initialized with the default values. Okay, so that is fine. Now I want to make sure, anyway, I written sysouts here. So with respect to constructor injection point of view, anyway, the setter methods are, injected, or maybe those are all involving in the constructor injection in any point? No, because we are not seeing these statements. If it is executed, then we have to see this statement. Okay, anyway, I deleted one more time. I'll just make sure setter methods are not required with respect to constructor injection point of view. You got everything again injected and everything is executed. So please make all these differences. Okay, I have setter methods again. Now, for example, I want to make sure this class, okay, holidays and everything I will announce in the last 5 minutes. Okay, just wait. You guys are worrying about holidays instead of subject. This is what people. Okay, so let's come back now. Even with respect to employee class point of view, I have to enable setter injection also. I have to enable, maybe I don't know. The employee class, sometimes I can initialize with setter injections. Sometimes I may go for constructor injection. It is up to my requirement or my choice. So now I want to make sure employee is eligible for setter injection also. Then what is the step you have to take care in the current implementation? For as far as setter injection, 2 things you need. What? One is default constructor is mandatory, and then respective setter methods are mandatory. So these 2 points we know. Now what with respect to setter methods we have or not? Yes, we have set ID, set name, set salary and everything. for these three properties. But what is the one thing is missing here? Default constructor is missing. So that's why even if you are trying to configure a bean object with setter injection point of view, so I'm creating employee 3 with setter injection. So now my point here also, one more point I'm trying to make here. Can I create one more employee object with setter injection or not? Yes, generally we can do that. But with respect to Java class point of view, let's do one thing. So what is the tag here? Property tag, you can use name equal to. Okay, so what is the property you given? ID. And similarly, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So I given property tag called as ID 101. So generally, when we are maintaining a default constructor and all this will be executed or not. So in this case, what will happen? Only ID value will be initialized to the ID property and the name and salary of E3 will become respective null, comma 0.0, but ID will become something like 102. Okay. Yeah, 102 or 103. So 103 will become like that. But now with respect to our current employee class, is it going to execute? Okay, is it going to create a object or not? Why? The reason is default constructor. Why you need default constructor again? Okay, you're saying like default constructor is required, but why we need container first creating an object by using default constructor internally, and it is initializing the values with default values. Then in the next step, after object creation with default values, then in the next step, container is calling one by one setter method, whatever the properties we configured here, based on that setter method is calling. Now to achieve the first point, creating object with default constructor. First of all, our class doesn't have any default constructor. So that's why with respect to E3 point of view, our beans are going to be created bean objects. Every bean object, even E2 will be created, but when it comes to E3, it will fail. So let's understand. Let's see, is it true or not? Okay, what happened? E1 is created, E2 is created, but when it comes to E3, what is the problem? You are trying to achieve a setter injection, you are trying to use a property tag. So, but it is expecting what? A default constructor, but it is not there. So let's understand now. Creating bean with the name E3 from the XML file, instantiation bean is failed. So when you are getting exceptions in the Spring framework, okay, just read the exceptions. Sometimes those exceptions will give you very clear information, what you are missing, what you are making the mistake. You don't need to worry about the other things also. Sometimes from the exception itself, you can get your own solution. Okay, it's very clearly saying fail to instantiate which bean. Even it is giving bean 3, I mean E3 in the sense bean ID also it is giving. So it is making problem in the E3. And what is the reason is fail to instantiate no default constructor found. So you got your solution. Now that means what you have to do, go to employee, define a zero parameterized constructor, or it will be called as default constructor also, right? So zero params constructor will be called as what? Yes, default constructor also. So how many parameters? 0 means it's called as default also. Okay, now E3 is going to be created or not? Yes. By the time E3 created and in the E3 object, what is the values will be available in ID and name and salary point of view? ID will become 101, 103, name equal to null, salary equal to 0.0. Okay, let me execute and let me print data also. See, I'm making a lot of points here, whether you're understanding or not. The differences between setter injection, constructor injection, internally what you required, what it is happening, what you have to take care. Okay, these are all practical points I'm making here. Please understand, please concentrate here. Your voice, Kalyan, it's so my problem with voice with any others, any problem with voice? Online students? Yeah, so Kalyan, it's not problem for everyone, it's only problem for you. Just take care. Okay, don't think again about the voice issue. It's only problem from your side. No. If you are not So here EID is string. No, it's integer value. What you are giving in the double quotes, that is what matter with respect to Java data types. Okay, don't feel like in XML point of view this is a string. Okay, this is a string value. No, ignore the double quotes in the XML configuration, and inside the double quotes, whatever the value you are giving, that will automatically format. Spring framework is going to format from number to string format point of view. String to number format point of view. Okay. So this value will be taken as string by the Spring framework internally, but based on the data type of this ID, it will try to convert as what? Integer value, string to integer value. That's why if I am giving some, okay, integer string value here, 103, something ABC I given. Now what is the value here it is? Which data type value it is? String value. So generally what will happen in the Spring framework? It will try to pick up this value container, okay, Spring framework, and it will observe what is the property, ID property data type. What is the ID data type property? Integer. So it will convert from string to integer internally, and that value will be assigned to the instance variable. These are all things will be done by the Spring framework internally. We don't need to worry. Only thing is we have to give only integer values here. That rule we have to know here. For example, if I'm executed here, what exception you are going to get with respect to E3 again? Number format exception. Yes. So in interviews, these things will ask, guys. They will not ask always straightforward how to create a bean object. Okay. Can you tell me bean creation process? Can you give me setter injection? No, they will not ask. They will ask something indirectly, these kind of things. If I given this, what will happen? If I given this, what will happen? Like that. So you have to make practice. See, number format exception you are getting because it is taking a string only, but when it is trying to convert as number with respect to integer, okay, this value is becoming as, it contains ABC. That's a number format exception you got. First, let me complete the examples. Then I can give you real-time scenarios. Okay, so let's define E3 also. Employee 3 data. Okay, I'm just taking employee 3 and E3. Okay, so employee 1 is created, or employee 1 object is initialized with which injection now? Constructor injection. Employee 2 is again with constructor injection, but employee 3 is creating by using which injection? Setter injection. So if I'm, how many values I'm injecting as part of the setter injection now? For the employee 3, E3, only 1. So ID will become 103, name is null, salary will be 0.0, you will see. So number format exception, let me change here also. Yeah, that's all. Okay, now I give an integer value. Now let's see Java application. So now for the same employee, we created 2 bean objects with constructor injection values and 1 more employee object with setter injection point of view. So is it clear now up to this point? So let me finalize the differences between constructor injection and setter injection now. Okay, at what time we have to take, what time you should not take and all, we will try to understand now. Okay, so now for example, with respect to setter injection point of view, okay, let's make a definition here. Yeah. Is it okay? Okay, so if I have setter versus constructor, which one is important, which one is not important, or which you have to take at what times? Okay, you can answer now. Okay, I don't need to answer, you can only answer. For example, see, when you are working for a project, see why we are learning in the here all these things is to work for a project, to work for a company or to work for a project, right? So when you are working for a project in the sense, you are working for a client. Client in the sense, those clients are having business, those business point of view, they are having requirements point of view. So based on their requirements, we are implementing the logics. So that's why every time I used to say like, let's take requirement. So in reality, finally, the code logic you are going to write down on your own or based on the client requirement? Based on the client requirement, we will write down the logic. It's not like I have an idea, I will implement. No, based on their requirement, we have to write down. Now, for example, based on the requirement point of view, okay, you got an assignment, or maybe you got a requirement like this. Create, okay, a class and make sure, okay, I mean, out of the class, I have properties something like ID, name, okay, and salary, and as well as email ID. Okay, so I want gender details as well as, so you can contact number. Okay, or you can take a list of contact numbers. Okay, I will tell you, I will come back to the list of values how to inject in the constructor injection. Once you are done with this, those things I can complete within 5 minutes. You know the already things. Okay, so you have data like this, leave about the setter and all. So this is what your requirement. I mean, you are going to maintain these properties. What are the properties? ID, name, salary, email, and gender. And out of this, now I'm giving you a requirement. When you are writing the class, you have to take all these properties. Okay, and after that, I told you like, so as per requirement point of view, please make sure whenever a bean object is created, okay, mandatorily always all the values should be initialized. All the values should be initialized always. All the values should be initialized at what time? Object creation point of view. Now tell me which injection you will take care. Constructor injection, we are going to take care because it's mandatorily you have to initialize all the values. For example, now you created a constructor, okay, with respect to person point of view. You given constructor arguments ID, comma, name, comma, salary, comma, okay, and you define email, comma, something gender, and followed by list of contact numbers. Okay, you define, assume like this. Now, when you define only one constructor in the class called as person, only one constructor you define. Now, this requirement is getting fulfilled or not all the time. If any other developer is trying to create object for your personal class, person class, so that developer 100% has to pass values to these properties or not. Otherwise, your bean object will be created. If he is feeling like, let me make sure ID and name, salary values I will give, I will ignore email, gender, and contact. So the bean creation is going to happen? No, because you defined only one constructor in the Java class. Okay, and you are trying to make sure achieve only. Then what injection you have to choose? Then constructor injection is best option in this case point of view. So now you can define constructor injection and you can define a constructor in the Java class. So based on this requirement, what is the idea you got in your mind? You are going to create a class and it's better to take which injection? Constructor injection, because all the time you are injecting all the values. So it's better to go with constructor injection. Even though you are not given one value of one property, your bean is going to create. No, that means you are making bean is not ready when you are not passing out. Okay, one value out of all these properties. You got the point? Now, for example, you got one more requirement. Okay, please make sure a bean object created and not sure about the properties values. Only thing is I need a bean object. Okay, so in such case, what you will do? Yeah, setter injection or maybe creating only bean object. Okay, and not sure about the properties and values. Then maybe not setter injection also, but what you will create here? A empty bean configuration you will do. Bean ID class. Even you don't need to go for the setter also here. But that means in this specific scenario, but one thing you have to take care. What is that? A default constructor. Yes. So that's what. See, the things will change. It depends on the requirement point of view. In interviews also, they will ask these kind of questions only. Okay. So now, for example, if I given one more requirement with respect to the same class, okay, please initialize mandatorily, okay, or all the time, ID and name and comma email always. Then what you will take? you can take constructor injection or not. You will define what? 3 parameterized constructor. So that is what you can take, or you can take something like a setter injection also you can achieve here. But in case with respect to setter injection point of view, I can tell you like this also. Okay. Not sure about. Okay, your requirement is maybe making like this. Not sure about values of all properties, but we may get any properties. Out of all the properties, we may get any of the values should be injected. Then what you can take? So you don't have guarantee which order. So when you are creating the bean object, you don't know what values you are going to inject always. So in this requirement point of view, you have a clear instruction. All the values should be must and should. So in this requirement point of view, only a bean object has to be created. Don't go for any injection. So in this requirement point of view, mandatorily I have ID, name and email always. So I have to create. I have to pass all the values. Then constructor injection, you can go and you are going to create a three parameter constructor. But here, what is the point you taken? We will create the bean object today. Okay, when you are creating bean object, I have ID and name values. Tomorrow I have name and email values. Only name and email. So I even with respect to I have email and contact. Okay, sometimes I have only contact value. Sometimes I have only ID value. So to achieve this kind of behavior, so then which is feasible solution? Setter injection is the feasible solution, because now you know it with respect to this requirement point of view. Are you going to create any constructors? Because you don't have any clarity. Today it might be 2 parameters. Tomorrow it might be 3 parameters, maybe 6 parameters, maybe 0 parameters. So you don't have any clarity. So in such case, it's better to go with a default constructor implementation. And in case, then there is no values like 0 values, then this will coming into the picture. When you are injecting 2 values, ID comma name, then you can go for the setter injection. And similarly, tomorrow if it is name comma email, you can inject the name comma email via setter injection or not? Yes, it's up to our choice. Whatever the values we want to inject, we can inject in the setter injection point of view. So what is the point overall here? It is constructor injection will be called as full injection. Generally, full injection in the sense what? Yes, all the values must and should be passed. You have to inject all the values based on your constructor point of view. Must and should you have to pass. If you are not passing, bean creation is happening with respect to constructor injection time. No, it's saying like so and so property is missing, third argument is missing, something like that. You have to inject all the values always. But when it comes to setter injection point of view, do we have anything like you have to inject always 5 values, 3 values like that? No, it's up to our choice. So now with respect to here, if I am removing property, are you going to get any problem with the E3? Bean creation point of view, object creation point of view, nothing will happen. Only thing is ID will become 0, but a bean will be created or not. But if you go back here, if I created constructor or deleted constructor argument, now E2 will be created. No. So that means constructor injection will be called as a full injection and setter injection will be called as a partial injection. So that means what is the meaning of partial here? So you can inject partial values. Maybe if you want ID, you can inject only ID. Maybe ID and name, ID name, or out of all these properties, whatever the partial values you have to inject, the choice of values, you can go for the setter injection point of view. So is it clear the real differences when you have to go for constructor injection, when you have to go for the setter injection point of view? So it's all depends on the requirement. We cannot say like this is important, this is not important, or this is where having a priority point of view. So if you are having this kind based on the requirements, your idea is changing, your requirement is changing, and the way you are going with the either setter or constructor is changing or not. You got the point when you have to choose what and what is the difference between setter and constructor. In real time projects also same thing will happen. So depends on your requirement. You have to go with the respective setter injection or maybe constructor injection pointer. Any doubts until this point? At what time what you have to choose? So online people, any doubts? Setter versus constructor. And one more thing, practically internally what is happening? Setter versus constructor point of view. Now theory point of view, setter injection requires a default constructor and setter methods. Constructor injection requires only constructor. And in the background again, setter injection point of view, object will be created with default values by executing default constructor. And then setter methods will be called for the property tags and values will be injected. Okay, with respect to constructor, after object creation or while object creation? While object creation, the values are passed to the constructor and those values are initialized while object creation itself. So these kind of examples you have to give. And you have to say like partial injection and full injection. Why you are saying it as partial injection, why it is a full injection. In an example point of view, you have to take all this. Okay. If you have use case with 3 mandatory and 3 optional. So then this is what requirement, right? 3 mandatory. Okay, you will define as so. And one more thing, you cannot mix constructor injection and setter injection also. For one bean object, sir, can I achieve? Maybe the question is same thing here. It is okay. So, sir, can I configure one property in the setter injection point of view, and can I configure 2 values with respect to constructor injection? Is it possible? Now think in Java point of view. So when you are writing an object for person, P equal to new person, and you are passing 2 constructor values here, 1 comma Dilip. So at this same time, can you call set method? Is it possible? First object has to be created, and they based on this reference, you are trying to call P dot the respective setter methods. P dot set methods. P dot and respective setter methods you are going to call after object creation. Similarly, you cannot mix setter injection and constructor injection for one bean object. Okay, if you are choosing like individual bean, only constructor injection. For the E1 employee object, for E2 employee object, only constructor, only setter injection. But it's not like you can mix both injection for one bean object creation of any class, any bean class. You got the point now? So what we given here? 101 and Naresh and property ID. See, it's happening what? It's overriding the things. That's what. You should be very careful. You are mixing. The things are making confusion point of view. Why I am saying like we cannot use this. If you given ID is what? 103. Okay, constructor values are 101 point of view. So it is giving you a lot of confusion point of view. You can mix, okay, you can mix, but only thing is, if you are overriding the things, then the problems are starting again. So or else you have to follow like this. You should not give ID value here with respect to what constructor? Second parameterized constructor, but you are passing ID value here. Then this is going to happen again. One parameterized constructor you have? No. So you have to take care of so many scenarios when you are going with mixing with all this point of view. So that's why generally people will not follow mixing all the options at a time, whether you can go for setter or whether you can go for constructor. But that too in real-time projects, okay, we will not do this kind of configurations more and more. Anyway, we will come back to annotation solutions, then you will understand. No, this one. Now see. The bean creation will fail if you are not following the, and you are trying to mix setters and constructors irrespective of the declaration, implementation, what you did in the employee level, the bean creation will not happen here. Okay. See, when we create any object using new keyword, then automatically default constructor get called. And on the other hand, here we need to explicitly write default constructor. Who is this, Rajat? Do you know Core Java? So making question is easy, but before asking the question, we have to think. So this question, okay, guys, you can answer. The question here it is in the constructor injection. When we are creating an object using new, in Java, Core Java point of view, sorry, we are creating object by using new operator. Automatically, it is getting created. But in the constructor injection point of view, why we are writing the default constructor? In Core Java itself, think in the Core Java. If you have this class implementation, it's a Java class. First of all, it is a Java class or not? Yes. If you return in the main method, if you don't have default, this point I already explained yesterday. So now automatically is it going to create object with a new keyword without any parameter values? I did not return any default constructor. Compiler is not adding anything because you given today constructor arguments. So then compiler will not add any default constructor in the dot class level. When you are not given anything, then default constructor will be added by the compiler. This is the rules. That's why we are saying like explicitly we have to mention when you are having constructors of arguments, then explicitly you have to write down default constructor 100%. That's why I am telling. Okay. Yeah, even setter based also, first a default constructor is required or not to create an object with. See, setter injection, what is the point? How internally it is executing? Setter injection point of view, an object is created by using default constructor point we made. Okay, when I am explaining about setter injection in the previous classes, there I did not written any parameterizer constructor. That's why you are not written any default constructor in your source. But who added? Who written the default constructor in the background? From .java to .class level, when compiling the .java to .class, compiler added default constructor to the .class. Finally, .class will be loaded into the memory and JVM will observe a default constructor is available or not to create object like new employee point of. So that is what your core Java, right? That is what our core Java. Now, same behavior with respect to core Java point of view, if you define an argument constructor, is it compiler is going to add any default constructor? No. Then your employee E equal to new employee, the line is going to compile this time. The line is working earlier. Why now? Why not? Why it is not working now? Because we are added a default instead of we added a constructor called as parameterizer constructor. Maybe it is one parameter or two parameter, whatever it is, but you added a constructor. When one constructor is already presented, compiler will not add anything. That's why you are getting compile time problem in the previous line point of view. So is it clear? Rajat? I already explained these points very clearly yesterday. I taken core Java examples also. Please concentrate, guys. Otherwise, you will miss quality of training. Okay, so we got a difference basic. Okay, most of the differences between setter injection and constructor injection point of view. But our point here it is how to inject, okay, Boolean values, maybe character values as well as list of values, set of values with respect to constructor injection point of view and with respect to one object is injecting into another object point of view. We need to take examples in the constructor injection. So let's take a different new classes or new project I will create. Who is this Krishnamurthy? Right now I explain you in the real-time project which injection will be used. Which will be used, guys, in real-time projects? Depends on the requirement. So are you sleeping until this time, Krishnamurthy? See, this is what I taken all the things and I'm making sure like this is requirement. And before making this line, I told you very clearly we are working for the client. Client will have a requirements. Based on the requirements, we will write down the logic. Like that, I told you the statements and still people are asking what, which we will take in the real-time projects. So if you are not able to listen the class properly, then don't attend the training, guys. It's your money waste. Okay, I'm not saying about it. I will not lose anything. I will get my money back. Okay, I'll get my money whatever way I have. Okay, only concern is don't think about whatever I'm saying harsh. It's all about, I used to think like, see, why I'm giving all this in details. I don't know how you got your training in the previous sessions, but this is how I will go. Even 2 people are there, 200 people are there, 500 people are there. I will try to make sure the class is 100% is only with practical things, irrespective of other useless things. Okay, you guys are understanding not? So I will try to make sure every point practically. It's not like only theory I told you and I'll just leave it. So whatever yesterday I discussed the core Java points also. I written employee E, new employee E1, 1, ID. Why I revised that concept? If you know those things, Spring is nothing. Now tell me, if you are good with core Java rules, what you understand from last 3-4 classes, if you are good with core Java knowledge, the Spring is easy or not? Just think in core Java point of view. You people, whoever remembered, what is the default constructor? When default constructor will be added? What is argument constructor? If you are added argument constructor, compiler is going to add a default constructor or not? So if your guys knows all these points and we have 2 parameterized constructor, can you call can you create an object with 1 parameter? These are all core Java stuff or not? So if you are good with the core Java stuff, now Spring is easy or not? So people who forget the core Java, people who forget like compiler is going to add a default constructor when there is no constructor, compiler will not add any constructor. I mean, compiler will not add any default constructor. When you written a constructor, if you guys are forgetting this kind of core Java rules, then Spring will become a difficult process for you, or then Spring will not understandable for you. So that's why the day one itself, I told you, please make sure your core Java knowledge is very, very strong. Not only Spring point of view, in future in job also. So that's what I told you. Currently, I'm working a framework called as Quarkus framework. It's not Spring. It's a different framework, but it is having only core Java. So copy paste of Spring concept. But internally, what we are writing is everywhere core Java will be there. So that's what. Please make sure your core Java is very strong. Yeah, I'm going very deep and I'm explaining, but still people are asking like core Java doubts. That's not my problem here. It is. Okay, so let me save it first before going with our examples. What we did, setter versus constructor. Okay, so let's come back. Let me create a new project first freshly, and then we will take examples. So new Java project. So let's take Spring setter injection. Okay, or something like references, all these things, data types point of view. Okay, so don't create module -info. So people are getting the problems if you are creating, if you are selected this. When you are creating the project, make sure it is unselected, unchecked. Finish. And one more point also, I'm telling you, whatever the Spring core knowledge you are getting, it will be reflected in every day, in every module, every concept, until your microservices training. Okay, in real-time projects implementation point of view also, every 5 minutes, directly or indirectly, these concepts will be involved in project implementation. But every 5 minutes, it will be involved when you are writing the code. That much important core module also. So yeah. Oh, okay. So let me create a class first. Okay, I forgot to add jar files. Let me add it also. Okay, so just configure, build path, class path, add external jars, and wherever your jar files are available. Okay, so now I have a class. Let me write down the class first. Private integer order ID. Private string name, the person name. Private is order success. Yeah, sorry, Boolean I have to take here. Method point of view I'm writing. Okay, so character, yeah, I mean, same example we will try to take. Can I use wrappers? Yes, you can mix directly. It's a good thing. So food type. And I'm trying to take private a list of string and food item names. Okay, so I will give you remaining things as assignments. Maybe I will explain list point of view and I will take reference later. First complete until this. So what are the data types I taken in the class order? Integer, string, Boolean, character. Okay, and yeah, character followed by list data type. We taken here and we are going to inject values via constructor injection for these data types. Yeah, I will take object reference point of view. We will discuss separately. Okay, okay. First, only taking list, I mean primitives as well as wrappers and as well as list. Object point of view, we will take separate example. I don't want to mix everything. Okay, so let's do one thing. I want to achieve with the what? With constructor injection. So it's up to your choice. How many constructors you will create is? It's up to our choice. We can create any number of constructors with any number of arguments kind of thing. For example, I can create a constructor with these 2 parameters. I can create a constructor with these 3 parameters. I can create a constructor with all 5 parameters. Depends on your requirement point of view. So you can create different constructors. So let's do one thing. Source, generate setter. Okay, not this one. Yeah, write down this one also. Okay, so I'm creating a couple of constructors here. We will configure quickly. Fields point of view. I'm creating a constructor with ID, name, and is order success. That is one constructor, total 3 parameters. And I'm going to create one more constructor. Source using fields, all the parameters, and I'm going to create one more constructor. Okay, with food type and as well as food item names. So it's up to the thing. So how many constructors I created now? 3 constructor we have created. One is taking values of ID, name, and ID, name, and is order success point of view. So total 3 params. Here it is order ID, name, is order success. I mean all the parameters, right? All params. Okay, here it is 2 parameters. That's okay. So I have a class implementation like this. You can take anything, whatever you want. Okay, fine. Now let me create bean configuration for this Java classes. New file, spring beans.xml file. Okay, so yes. Okay, so I'm creating beans one by one here. Now, for example, I'm creating bean object. Okay, order 1 for the properties. For this one, I'm creating. Okay, so to execute this constructor point of view, I'm creating a bean configuration now. Now that means how many constructor arguments we have to take? 5 constructor arguments I have to take. Then this constructor will be executed. And you know the rule now. You have to follow order, something like integer value, string value, boolean value, character value, list value, like that. Or else you have to give index value. That we know that. So let's make it up for the 5 parameterizer constructor point of view. Bean I have. Okay, so ID I'm going to create like order 1 and class equal to package name including and then class name dot order. Okay, so fine. So bean object will be created with this. I mean, normal question. It's not related to our point now. With this bean object will be created in our order class point of view. No, default constructor is not there, right? Okay, good. So now constructor injection point of view, total we decided like 5 parameterized constructor. We are passing 5 values at a time. Okay, let's take first 5. Okay, constructor argument and followed by what is this value you have to pass. And let me do one thing. I'll take this as a comment here so that we don't need to come back here. So this is the order you have. So integer, string, boolean, character as well as list of values. So what is the value I have to give here now? Integer value. Okay, so any integer value. So I'm giving 1001 and followed by second value. Okay, what it is? Name. So let's give some name in the sense customer name point of view. Think. Okay, it's ordered by customer and it is order success value. So we given it as true and maybe assume success. and then followed by value. What is this? Food type character. So for primitives and wrappers, the concept is same, right? In Java also, when you given character C equal to single quote C or A, is it going to take or not? You can directly initialize primitive value to the wrapper class, or maybe the character value to the primitive also, both the things, right? So that's why I taken. So food type is all about, I taken with. Okay, so now let's come back to the value point of view. So anyway, we completed this. Now what about the value of list? Generally, list is all about a group of elements, a multiple elements, number of values. Then how can we pass as part of the value here? So yes, that's all done. So what is the tag? Yes, list tag you have to use. And as part of list, yes, values you have to use. Okay, so let's give the morning time. Puri dosha. Okay, so I given more than one value, and I maintain duplicate also intentionally. So we can see list behavior point of view. We have to see 2 times this item. Okay, and those are neatly I made. So now same process, whatever I explained you earlierly, when it is creating bean object for the order one, it will follow. You're trying 5 constructors arguments you given. So then which constructor will be executed from the order? 5 parameterized constructor will be executed at this time. And what is the thing you have to take care here? It is the order of the constructor arguments. Yes, we followed 100%. No need of taking index attribute here when you are following the order. So now let's go and create the container object and see the bean object is created and the values are injected or not. So what is the file path? Okay, so good. Let's get the bean object. Context dot get bean of bean ID is order 1. Okay, it is going to give object type, but we can typecast it into order. Cast to order. Okay, so sort of order dot. Can I write down toString? You know the toString? So simple overriding toString in the sense it will just create a method with the logic of printing all these values point of view. You can take that, then it just I can save some time. That's all. Other than there is no relation with again constructor injection with toString method. Okay, so just to save some time. So I written a toString, it will print all these lines, and you can see as a string, it will return all the values. So I'm directly writing order value here, or you can see individually also order dot get. I'm taking especially the list of values. The remaining values will be injected. We know that. So let's see with respect to our analysis point of view, it has to execute 5 parameterized constructor and it will inject all the values. If you want, you can write down a statement also here. 5 parameters, right? Yeah, 5 params constructor. Okay, so just a small statement. Okay, now let's execute the main method. So at line number 10, the analysis we already completed what is going to happen. And let's see. Okay, so what is these values? So every value is injected or not? Perfectly. Which constructor is executed out of 3 constructors? 5 parameterized constructor is executed and you configured very well in the beans.xml with by following the order. So that's why order ID 101, customer name is Dilip, order is success, true, and you given food type equal to V character, and you given food item names, the list of values you given. So is it contains all the list of values or not? So it is injected all the values, even Puri for 2 times, and the remaining values, whatever the configuration we given, it is injected. But these are all values injected via constructor. So the list of values are also injected via constructor only. So is it clear how to deal with the list of values now? Now tomorrow, if I added one more property, something like list of prices, that's all. You just need to tag which tag you have to take. Either it is a setter injection or constructor injection. For the list type of values, what is the tag commonly? List, and respect to internally you have to use the values. When you used as part of the property, it is all about the setter injection. When you are used as part of the constructor argument, it's all about the constructor injection point of view. Just let me go here. See here, this is how you have to take care in the constructor argument level. Is it clear? Now can you take for the set? I'm not writing. If I'm changing it to set, then example is completed. Okay, you know the set right now. So we completed in the, so you just take as assignment for the setter point of. So what we covered is list of strings. So that means list data type I covered. So what is that you have taken here? It's part of constructor argument. This is what you have to take. You got the point now? In the constructor argument level, you are taking list of the things. If I given set of the set data type, yes, that's all. And only thing is when you given duplicate values also, it will maintain only unique values, overriding things and all internally will happen. The same behavior, functionality will not change. That's all. Your examples are completed. I mean, set point of view you can take as assignments. Only thing is you can try with, okay, the wrapper classes. When you're practicing, please practice more examples. Okay, try a few examples with wrapper classes and the string data type. Other than we have any other things? No. So, right. So we will take reference point of view. I will take in the next class. But even ref also same thing. Okay, just if you feel when you have order one object, okay, I'm giving you an idea. So because we don't have much time to discuss it, I will discuss. It's not like that. But only thing is I'm just providing you an idea. What is the attribute you used, guys? Ref attribute you used. Now, for example, assume I have a class called as employee and inside employee address. I'm just giving you an idea, but I will take this example practically also. Okay, generally in setter injection point of view, what you did, you have an object called as A1 for the address class and A2 for the address class. And when you're creating, okay, when you're creating employee object with respect to setter injection, what is the property you taken? Property, and what is the attribute? Ref attribute you taken, and what you given? With respect to employee one bean object you are creating for the employee class, and when you are trying to inject A1 bean ID into employee level, what you taken here? Either A1 or A2 bean ID of address you are taking. So as part of which tag? Property tag, right? Now, simple constructor argument. That's all. In the wherever you have created a constructor, like okay, you created a constructor like this, employee, okay, integer ID comma string name comma address. Assume you have a logic like this. Now, first constructor argument value will be integer value. Second constructor argument. When it comes to third constructor argument, instead of value, what you will give? Ref attribute you will take, and you will say like whatever the bean object of address one has to be injected into employee level. But only thing is address object is injected via constructor. Okay, so same thing. That's why I told you when you're good with setter injection configuration, constructor injection configuration wise, just renaming the things. But functionality wise, only address is injected via constructor while object creation itself. So that is what in background point of view, what will happen. You just try, but I will take one more example. It's not like that. And what about the hash map? Yes, even if you want, let me add a property here itself, hash map point of view. I'm taking string and name double price point of view. Okay, so prices. So let's take prices and do one thing. I'm creating a constructor with two parameters. One is what? Item names and followed by food prices. Okay, so I can create any constructor, I can inject any values. So generate first constructor. I give it setter getters, right? Anyway, I need setter getters also for this to print the values and everything. Same thing, the same map entry you will use, nothing else. Source using fields. I am creating constructor with. Yeah, you can take only prices also, but anyway, I will just try to take it. Okay, I have a constructor with list of food items, map of prices. So I want to execute this constructor now. Okay, so then what we are going to do? We are going to create one more bean object. Creating in the sense one more bean object. Prices and menu. Assume you are creating a menu point of view. Okay, so let's go here. Let's create a bean object with menu, something like that. So I'm giving name as menu, order menu or whatever it is. And here, first argument is what? First, let's do one thing. Can I keep list as it is? So for same timing point of view. So I will maintain duplicate. I will remove these things. Okay. So this is all about which constructor argument? First constructor argument. See, our assume, okay, which object we are going to create now? By using this constructor, we are creating order object, passing food item names and as well as prices. So how many constructor arguments you have to take in the bean object creation now? 2 you have to take. Yes, I taken first one and followed by second one also. I'll write down step by step. So total 2 constructor arguments. But what about the values? Is the direct values? First one dealing with the list data type. So what you have to do again? In the first constructor argument, you have to take list attribute. I mean list child tag. And as part of this, again, you have to take value attribute. So value you can give, I'm giving 2-3 items. Okay, second constructor argument is dealing with what data type? Map data type. Key, value, pairs data. So string is key, double is value data type, right? So now how I'm going to take? Yes. So you are just configuring as map only. And as part of map, entry you can take. Okay. And finally, entry point of view, the key value. Okay. So I will give the values whatever available here. Okay. So something like thing. $99. What? Tinnantavie dosa. Okay. Okay. So yeah, just now what will happen whenever menu object is created, menu order. Okay, something like menu is this bean ID is created or this bean object is created. Internally, it will try to observe. Okay, these guys are used 2 constructor arguments. Then immediately it will say there is a constructor available with 2 constructor arguments available or not. Yes, available. And it will identify, okay, these guys are used list, first one, second one as map. So there is a constructor with 2 arguments called as list comma map is available or not, that it will identify and that constructor will be executed now. So values will be injected via whatever you given in the XML file, list tag and map tag, those values will be injected into this constructor arguments level, and finally those values are initialized into your instance variables level. So it's out of context dot get bean. Okay, what is that order? menu order. So it will return what internally? Object, and object will be, even I written this out here, directly written. So you can see in the menu object, the entire content is injected or not. So in the menu object point of view, will you expect any values for the order ID, name, order success, food type? Default values we will see, because we injected only two types of values here. That's why we written two parameterized constructor. Okay, let me execute now. So just observe here, order ID default 0, name equal to null, false, boolean default value. Food type you given character wrapper, that's why it is taking as null. Okay, and food items, is it injected or not? You given four values, list type point of view. I think toString I have not updated. Or I will do one more thing, nothing. So toString is not updated with the map value. So what I will do, I will write down one more line for the map. It will not give actually. Typecasting and all I have to do. So let's do one thing. Or else you can change also. I will update toString with latest thing also. This is where Lombok will help. Lombok. toString again, I'm overriding with prices also. Okay, let me execute again. So just go back here. So you can see all the list of map values also or not. Key value pairs. Idli and something, the respective key value pairs we can we see or not. So that's what configuration wise, it is very easy when we are understanding the setter injection. Only thing is you change it the names. But in the background functionality wise, both are same. There is lot of differences, right? While constructor creation, after object creation, setter methods are called, constructors are called. Okay, following the constructor argument orders. These are all things technically you have to do, understand so many things. But with respect to the XML configuration, okay, configuration point of view, maybe you will use same tags. But only thing is property, but in between list, map, asset, all these things are same. Even ref attribute also. Okay, I will take example in the next class. You just try if you are interested. Okay. So you just try address and just give constructor argument and ref of A1 that will be injected. Okay, just try, but I will take. Now, that's all about today. And it's come to the holidays. You are waiting, right? So Naresh is at, okay.